Hey guys, it's Rachel Feldman, and I'm so happy that you are back at Healthy Hustle Podcast, where we talk about your business, your life, and all those behind the scenes stuff that you never get to see because you're just shown exactly do this, do that, this will work. So that's why today I'm so blessed to have Christine Egan here, who is going to share with you exactly the steps she took to let go of a cookie cutter blueprint and to do this and to do that and to step into intuition. This woman is a pioneer. She is a change maker. She does not stay quiet. And that is why I'm so blessed to have her here today.
Wow, how fun. I love that description. First of all, you and I have known each other for a really, really long time. Like, I'm going to say 8, maybe 9, if not 10 years that we've been connected.
I think I would say, yeah, maybe like in the nine plus.
Yeah. Isn't that funny to think about? I think about like who we were then to who we are now. That's all.
Well, and I think that's such a great thing even to start off for even this conversation, because you and I were talking right before we started recording about that beginning place, because everyone will look at you now and say, oh, there's no way I can ever have a website like that. There's no, all the things I remember when I first looked at somebody where I admired them and I wanted what they had, health or business. So first, tell everyone about your business.
Okay. Well, I'm a certified health coach, and I am an author. I have a book called The Healthy Girl's Guide to Breast Cancer. And I was a certified health coach, had a private practice in my community 10 years ago. I was helping women within my community get healthier for themselves so they in turn could be healthier for their families. And it was great. I worked 20 hours a week. I had a full business. If I wasn't doing one-on-ones, I was doing group coaching, and, life was great. And I was humming along. And then out of the blue, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and then did a bunch of different things as it relates to breast cancer, some traditional, some non-traditional. And knock on wood, 9 years later, I am cancer-free. I was cancer-free, for the 9 years. And I live a really healthy lifestyle before the cancer and post-cancer. And now I help women, mostly one-on-one work. I do some group work at least twice a year. And I help women put their lives back together after a cancer diagnosis. That's the main part of my business. But I also do, traditional health coaching. As if someone has a goal that they want to achieve, I kind of really flush out what the goal is, how that feeling is, and what we can do to achieve that goal. So not necessarily only in the cancer world, but mostly in the cancer world. But I do want to jump in because more than that, I am a wife of coming up on 24 years. I am a mom of 3 grown children, and we homeschooled all 3 of our kids K through 12. So I feel like that has to be part of that conversation when we were talking about doing things really differently. I have my own mantra, which is normal is broken. And I've kind of used that in my life. Like, it started out with home births for my kids. And then it was the homeschooling. And then it was how I was going to go about cancer care. And now it's the same thing for the business, meaning that there is no one set rule that everyone needs to do in order to homeschool their kids or to home birth their kids or to go through a cancer diagnosis. It's up to us to fact gather, learn, and then pull out what strings really work for us.
Well, and I love, one, you touched on so many amazing points. I'm like, note in head, because I do believe that we as coaches, and I know that I did this in the beginning, I looked at coaches that I really admired and said, how am I going to get there? So I even want to go back, and I love that you added in all those parts, because when I think of your site name, Redefining Healthy, it really is redefining the path you want to take in life. And I remember when I, was making choices for my children, or in utero or you know, in birthing, they were ones that had to be right for me, even against the grain of listening to other people. You shouldn't co-sleep. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. And I kept saying, but this is what my soul and my gut say. That.
And if you think about it, you weren't even raising those babies back when social media was so humongous. So imagine that plus what today's world is like.
Mass information overload. Now, and so let's go back to even your business, because I love one thing that you said. You had a one-on-one business. And I think also today, same thing. You and I started our business 10 years ago. And so for anyone listening to this later, this is 2019. We started 10 years ago at a time where it was get yourself out there.
Yep.
That's actually what was said. Get yourself out there, show up. So take us even back to the beginning reasons of your why, of why you started your business. How'd you get to a fully booked business where that business really worked for you, your lifestyle, and also your commitment to your family?
Well, I think when I kind of, this is the truth. It kind of just happened. And I think that that's part of why I've been out here for so long. One is I like to tell people, like, I'm in it for the marathon. I'm not in it for the sprint. My goal has never been, X amount of clients per month, X amount of money per month. Like I never operated in that genre. Now I operate in that role for my husband's office. It's very, very, how many patients need to come in this month? How many need to be, started in his orthodontic practice? It's very different driven than my own business. And partially because I don't operate well under that style operation. Yeah, that is not, I am much more, like we were saying before, intuition, heart driven, and that has worked for me. So when I think back to the original health coaching business, it was like people knew who I was, knew that I walked around town with a green juice and a glass straw. And that was 10 years ago. Like nobody was doing that. And, people knew in my own community that, we led this crunchy granola lifestyle. We belonged to the community supported agriculture when there was only like one or two out here.
Yeah.
Like they knew who to turn to for the health questions.
But this is a thing that I really want to touch on, because this is the part that even with all the teaching that I do and with the many videos and everything, that I always say, you have to be your walking business card, because that was the days of before social media. I mean, I remember being in commercial real estate. No one had a website. You were your walking business card. You modeled. That was attraction marketing. Same thing. I think there was always a green juice. There was always a kombucha in my kid's lap. And those were the pictures that either I took to put on Facebook and share, or they were the things that people saw. Oh my God, your daughter is eating seaweed. How do you get her to do that? Oh, well, This is what I did. Yeah. This is what I did. This is what I do. And I love that you brought that up, because if you are showing up every day in your daily habits and they're really visible, people will ask you, what's in that green juice? Why are you drinking out of that straw? And then it leads into this trust building, correct?
Yes. I like to tell people, and this is the truth. When we were talking before we hit record, we were talking about what does your life look like now kind of thing. And we were talking about business. And before I do anything in my business world, my health is a part-time job. And that took me a really long time to admit. So even before I was diagnosed with cancer, health was a really big part of my day-to-day life, between homeschooling 3 kids, which meant we had every meal at home. Like my kids didn't go anywhere. Like this was it. So talk about like getting kids in touch with the food that they eat. Like we had an outside garden that we belonged to and another one that was in town. Like my kids were very in tune with how to grow food, how to cut, how to harvest food, how to prepare food. So like I was into that, but after cancer, it took me a long time to admit out loud, and I'm going to say even within this last year, that my health and the quantity of time and effort that I put in is a full-time job, if not more than a full-time job. And sometimes when I know things are off, my health becomes a full-time job. Mm-hmm. And this past January, February, March, my health was a full-time job. I didn't have clients. All I did was work on some issues that I had for myself. And I knew if I didn't pay attention to these signs, then something was going to happen. So we learned to pay attention to the signs, and we learn where to be spending our energy. You know, a lot of times my energy is spent in my business and on my clients. And sometimes the most important thing I can do with my time is to take care of myself.
I love that you're talking about that too, because anyone who knows me, or you look back into pictures before, same thing. It was, I put everything above. And I also think that is, I'm not saying all women do, but I do think that is something that a lot of women, we just martyr through. The superwoman cape is flying and we have a lot of responsibility. And I know for me, asking for help was a big part of what I call my autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
And I think you brought up some really key points, because most health and wellness coaches, not all, but most came and started becoming a coach to often figure out their own issues, or that of their children, or they witnessed sickness or disease in their family, and they're really motivated to make it a different game for themselves.
Right.
So shift us to, because guys, let me just recap quick for those of you that are like, give me the recap. Make sure you're showing up. Scott, my husband, used to say to me, go to Whole Foods. I know you're going to pay for the whole trip because you're going to see somebody in an aisle looking at 50 probiotics like this. And so every time I would come right up, and I felt scared, but I would say, hey, are you confused? This is actually what I do. I was confused too. And I would get a client, or I would give a business card, and a year later they would say, you probably don't remember me. I met you in the cold section of Whole Foods.
That's right. Or maybe it becomes a blog post.
Exactly.
I was standing in front of the probiotic section and I don't know which one to get. Or I'm standing in front of the supplement aisle where I have X amount of money. Where should I be spending it?
I love that you're saying this, because coaches always say, well, what should I share about it? And I say, the very problems that people, sometimes it's not the big, it's like the little things in life that feel overwhelming and confusing. I love that you said I was a coach for moms. Moms are so confused. Is this the right omega? What should I be giving my children? What should I take for myself? Should I take magnesium? And it's all the questions that you get like at the football field, or when you see somebody. So guys, please go and stop and listen to this and write down these things that Christine said. Wow, this could be a blog post. This could be a live. This could be this. This could even be a workshop offline.
That's right.
And also, go meet your local farms or communities or CSAs. This is an unbelievable where did I start at the beginning? So
that's right. Especially one of my favorite things, I was just at another farm in another state, and I was with farmers, and I said to them, at your farm pickup, do you have people here showing, explaining what the food is and a handful of recipes on how to prepare this? Does your CSA newsletter have different menu, explaining what the vegetable is, how to store it, maybe a handful of ways of preparing it? And you'd be surprised, that's a one-on-one class. That would be such a great class for health coaches to be teaching. or even, you know, on behalf of the farmer, you could literally be standing at the farmer's market, just even answering questions as people come up for a farm pickup. I mean, there's so many great ideas for people nowadays.
Because I'm laughing. I'm laughing because when I moved from Philadelphia and I thought, oh my God, while I was in school, I thought, oh, I know everyone. And all these local farmers markets in town, I had all these visions. And then we moved for my husband's health. And so we moved to Florida, better for his psoriasis. It was a lifestyle change that had to happen. And so I went and I became, the farms became my Cheers bar, the place, the health food stores. And so those opportunities, me writing in their newsletter, them asking when they had opportunities, they were like, oh, we're calling Rach. She's always here spreading the love, telling people to go. So I'm loving this because these are like basics. You don't need Facebook ads. You don't need a funnel. You need your mouth and your compassion.
You need to be yourself. And that's what I was talking about before, about like this heart-driven, this service-driven. Yeah. And, you know, that is when we were even saying before about like looking at the website, you like when you see other people's website, don't get me wrong. I always get stuck in that comparison trap. Sometimes, you know, I really try to limit myself on social media so I don't get sucked in. But when I do, that gentle reminder is that I'm here in service. Like, stop. Everybody can succeed. Everybody can have abundance. Just because they're doing great doesn't mean that I can't do great. We can all do great stuff. If I stay in my lane and know what I do is coming from a place of service, then I can't go wrong.
This is why I think it just hit me. I mean, I always know, why do I stay in connection with people? But you're saying this, and I'm thinking, for the first like 4 years of my business, my husband would say, what'd you make? I said, I don't know. And I'm not supposed to know. I'm supposed to continue with heart. I'm supposed to show up, I'm supposed to educate, just like you said, educate, talk about the signals, talk about the things I wish I would have known as a mom with autoimmune and Lyme, and even just food allergies for a kid. Like, just share constantly these things that I wish somebody would have handed me this book and said, here, lady, you don't now have to research for thousands and thousands of hours and feel stressed. So right. Let's fast forward to then your business, because I'm sure even though there was a similar message, there was something that did have to get redefined.
Yes.
In your business. So talk about how you've been able to build that business with showing up in this heart-based, authentic way and cultivating it.
Well, in honesty, after I was diagnosed and went through a year's worth of cancer treatment and then wrote my book, the last group of people that I wanted to be working with were cancer patients. Like that, I shunned all cancer and only focused on health and like prevention and, you know, overall health basics. And don't get me wrong, I think that that is still huge and really important work to be doing. But after I, you know, was in therapy for a while and long enough, and I've kind of come through so far on the other side, I can talk about and be in the gutters with these people who are going through something that I know I've come out on the other side, and I have a little bit of information that I can help you get to that other side just a little bit faster. But that didn't happen overnight. That was like years worth of being okay and not feeling like I was being taken down every time I was working with a cancer patient.
And how many times did somebody say to you? Because I think there are two things that really come to me. One, I'm like, I love that you said like in therapy, because I feel that so many of us have what I call our it's not our calling, but we have things we feel we should do, but we're not ready for it. And we try to push it. And I love that you said, because I think in that process, we either feel like we're imposters, we're doing a business that we shouldn't be doing. So how many people told you, oh, Christine, This is what you should be doing.
Like, how could you not be? You just wrote a book on this. Like, how could you not be like in front of cancer patients? How could you not be working with oncologists? How could you not be at the hospitals? And I so wanted to, but I knew how it made me feel. Like, I knew it was almost like so much attachment that if you put these two hands apart, like there was so much sticky nut stuff between us that I couldn't do it and still maintain my health. So it took a long time, and it was working with people in a group so that there was no emotional connection. Like, I can do this if I just get up there and share without really committing to watching.
Without being, and I feel like that's a big thing between what people understand with one-on-one to groups. I wanted to work one-on-one. Like, that was when people are like, oh, you built your business online. I said, no, I created groups after there was so much pain of listening to people who couldn't afford me. And I wasn't charging a lot. Like, it came in a natural process. Yes. It wasn't, just like you said, it wasn't, oh, I'm going to build these 7 different streams within my business. It came out of every time somebody couldn't afford something, where they needed something. And I knew that was a missing hole clearly in the world. I was like, I have to create this.
Well, that is exactly what happened. So I finally started working more with one-on-one women. But there are only so many hours that I have availability for one-on-one work. So I put together an online 8-week, it's really like a 10-week program called Redefining Healthy. And it goes through all the things that I would talk about on a one-on-one. I mean, we go a lot deeper, obviously, on a one-on-one versus the structure, but the structure is available online should you need to access that without accessing me. But what I want to say is I ran that online class. So I ran that online class for a full year, a couple times in the year. And I was when we were talking before about that website, like, oh my God, like, I love this. And it was this gorgeous PDF, and it came with a box, like a welcome box. Like, I poured so much into this, and it comes with 3 emails a week, and it comes with video, and it was everything. And then after the year, I was disheartened, and I didn't know why it wasn't working. Like, do I want to put so much more money in Facebook ads? Do I want to be in this so I can get people here? Like, how do I want to funnel more people into that? Because I thought that's what was missing. Yeah. Until I realized what was missing: the personal connection. I thought that was my next evolution. Everybody else is doing it. Why can't I?
Right. I
have this same exact beautiful package put together of, from the best of the best. And after doing it, realized I really missed that one-on-one transformation that I can see in people. And it's not to say that people don't have transformations on their own and they just don't share it. I hope that's what happens. But I really missed that one-on-one connection, or even that small group setting connection. So for the longest time saying that I was running these classes online, now I went back to the drawing board and went back to group classes.
Yeah.
And then back to the one-on-one.
I love this talk for a million, maybe trillion I'll go into, or infinity and beyond reasons, because I do believe it's really difficult, not just in business, in the world, to step back and say, what am I supposed to do? Like, let me really listen to my heart. Let me listen to my gut intuition. Where am I supposed to navigate? I always say, oh, I'm so blessed to have found all the people that I worked with. No, I wasn't blessed. I kept really keeping my eyes open and praying through all these steps where I felt lost. as early as 18 going to EST, that somebody would help to provide one stepping block, one building block for me. And I think that so often coaches, we get the same thing. We get lost in our health. Going back to the basics, those are the fundamentals. Cleanse your body, and then we think that we really have to do what everyone else is doing. And the fact that you were like, I really miss this, and I was willing to abandon this way and do what really works for me, is really where we thrive.
Especially, I had spent money, like there was a lot invested in this, like my time, like I had taken over that dining room table for like months on end. Like, when is this stuff going to be put away? Because mom's doing her thing, or recording videos. Like, it was a big financial commitment. It was a huge time commitment. And I just wasn't seeing the rewards, but I was willing to even go bigger. Like, what can I do? I so believe in this. What can I do bigger? And then when I took that big step back and said, what really isn't working here? And it was me. It was me. And it was, although this is great, and I know that I've helped a lot of people, I miss the one-on-one. And the interesting part is, once I decided, that was in the end of December of, I don't even know what year, I said, okay, I'm going to go back to my local community and I'll put together an in-person workshop series called Life After Cancer. And it was 12 weeks. As soon as I made that commitment, the gates opened up, and a friend of mine who runs a yoga class for women with cancer, like, called me out of the blue. Christine, I have a bunch of women here that have graduating my program that have nowhere to go. What can we do with them? And I did nothing. A yoga place appeared. 20 people signed up for the 12 weeks. That was my maximum that I wanted to do, was 20 people. 20 people showed up. Like, I didn't do anything. That's what I'm trying to say. When you are in your lane and doing what you need to be doing, the struggle isn't there.
And when you tap into that part, because I love when you said, I just said to Scott last month, I really want to work with one-on-one. The moment I said it, people, I want to work with you. I love that you're talking about this clarity that you have to feel inside your soul.
Right. Because that online class checked off every imaginable box. It checked off the look. It checked off the list building. It checked off, 3 emails a week. It checked off the PDF. Like, it was amazing. The price point was good, but there was a little disconnect. And once I was honest about it, it doesn't mean that it goes away. It just means perhaps right now I'm not going to be spending my time and energy on this. And let's focus my time and energy on something else. And perhaps I'll come back to it, or maybe I'll just weave it into something, into an ongoing program, or it'll still live, but that's not where I'm going to be putting my time and energy.
So for the coach who is at any stage of their business, and if they're feeling stuck, pretty much what you're saying is take a step back, go back to the drawing board. And I think that's a great tool. I always say, go back to the drawing board every quarter. Like, really ask yourself at the end of every quarter. Every business does this.
Yeah.
Is this really working for me?
Yeah.
Am I really... Because I think when there's a drain factor and our capacity container is empty, there's no energy to show up anyway.
Yeah.
But when we're full, there's like this full alignment, and we go back to that being the walking business card.
That's right. Like, what is working? What isn't working? Mm-hmm. What could be working? Mm-hmm. So, like, where is the joy? Is the joy there? Where is the struggle? What is the struggle? And then, there's a line that I always use about that I learned from another coach. If I had a magic wand, what would I do with it? Like, if I had a magic wand, what would I do to that online class? If I had a magic wand, what would I do to this in-person workshop series? Like, what could the best of the best look like? What could it feel like?
Right. If I wasn't scared, what would my business look like if I showed up every day? What would I really say?
Yeah. And then be honest with yourself. Maybe showing up for your business every day is not something that's realistic.
Yep.
Maybe you need every Monday off. Maybe you need every Friday off. Maybe you need mornings off because you got to get the kids to school or whatever it may be. And maybe that,
or just even, I always say to 9-to-5ers who are building a business, I was like, you have to time block so that you don't do what many of us have done, whether you're 9-to-5 or you're an entrepreneur. We just go, and then all of a sudden we're in a ditch and we're like, I'm depressed and I feel no fulfillment. And
that's
it's
right.
not about money. It's, I feel no fulfillment. Like, I know I'm helping people, but it doesn't feel like I am.
Yeah. Well, how many coaches have you come in contact with or known throughout the years that talk about doing this big launch, and yet when they're done, their adrenals are gone?
And they're gone.
They're gone.
I call it the one-hit wonder. And I think it's such a beautiful topic that you brought in here. And I call it like, it's really that whole full circle. You have to really know how you want to show up. For me in the beginning, I felt too nervous to do groups, so I didn't do them. I had a fear of speaking in public, so I shot videos. But I took took us and I went into places. I introduced myself. I felt scared. I had the worst business card in the world that I had made on Vistaprint, and I was not cute in any such way, nor was my website. And I'll never forget a good friend, we both know, Bernardo Mendez, had interviewed me in year 3 of my business. And he said, okay, honey, your passion, the reason, because I said, why did you interview me? And he said, your passion screams. You're wanting to change the world comes through your eyes, through your heart, everything. Okay, now can you invest a little money into a website? Because I had built everything, in a way that really felt okay on how I wanted to show up. And that's one of the reasons that I would love to do a retreat. But you know what? Right now, that's not what calls to me, because my bandwidth isn't there. And it takes a certain person. And so what I've really gotten out of this is give yourself permission to let go of what everyone else is doing and really tap into this place where you say, is this working for me? Do I really want to build a one-on-one? Maybe I never want to be online. Maybe I really want to introduce myself and have that interaction. You just brought up so many valuable things that a person can do without stepping out of this place of discomfort.
Yeah. I mean, you take in as much knowledge as you need to, and then take action. Like, just because you're scared doesn't mean that you don't do it. Maybe you do it and then you realize that's not for me, but you still have to try it. Like that whole, like, being online and creating this whole online group for a year and a half, I gave it a year and a half and then was willing to even give more, and then really took that step back. This isn't where I need to be spending my time. Let me get more one-on-one work. And the one-on-one work I do is online. It's not even in person, but it's a deeper connection than people could get in the Redefining Healthy online class. And I mean, that takes a lot of guts to admit and to tell people. I mean, I invested a lot of money between, like, a copywriter looking over my stuff, an artist, someone to actually put the whole thing on the PDF, and, besides my VA, putting everything together and making sure every link works, and me creating the videos and I want to be really honest and transparent about this. Like, this wasn't a fly-by-night thing. This was something that I invested time and money in, and it still didn't work.
But I think that's such a huge topic, because I hear a lot of coaches who say, I'm really feeling drowned by social media. I can't do it. And I had a coach just share in our membership today. She was like, I stopped. I took a step back. I was feeling drained and depleted. And that's why you sharing this, you don't see it on Facebook. You see a Facebook post like, I made X amount.
Well, I was just going to say, I remember, I don't know, maybe this is 7 years ago, being in a group with other entrepreneurial women. And I remember one of the women like really looking up to her and being like, I can't believe how much money she's made. Like, how is she doing this with 3 young kids? And then I found out she has a full-time nanny. She had a full-time chef. She had a personal assistant, and she had her own VA. Like, she had a team of people.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden the blinders came off. And I was like, now I understand. And it's the same way for so many of these people that we see on social media as it relates to their business. They have teams of people that help them be great.
Right. We didn't start that way. And I think that's a beautiful place to even end this is, and I love what you said, like, stay in your own lane, don't compare yourself. I had to do that. And I had to do that for years. I really just had to constantly ask, who am I helping? Who is this serving? Will this freebie help them? Will this workshop help? Will this uncover another piece of the puzzle? And I just kept asking myself that one question.
Yeah, because you never know where that's going to lead you. That's the other part. Like, just because you have this free thing out there and you think, oh, like you said, like, it's almost like that business card. You never know where that free PDF is going to land up. You never know who's going to see it, who got shared to. It's that constant being in service.
Yeah.
Because you know that the information you have is valuable.
And making sure, and you brought this up, and I just want to say this clearly, it's really also knowing your capacity and your bandwidth, because I do think we have to be honest with ourselves at times in our life. Otherwise, we rob our health, we get sick, we have warning signs, we don't honor them, and then we end up in a disease state, whether emotionally, physically, spiritually, metaphysically, all of them. And then we say, what happened? So
that's right.
It's really important to not only honor that, but as you said, tap constantly into what is fueling you and what is draining you.
Yeah. And like I said before, so many of us are in for the marathon. We're not here for the sprint. We're here for the long haul. And you don't just go out and run 26.2 miles. You train for 26.2 miles. You know, these are like
you don't just climb Mount Everest.
That's right. That's right.
Which she did.
We're doing it again in October. I'll let you know. I'll have to come back on, and we'll have to talk about what happens when you do crazy things with crazy people.
But I think, guys, for those of you who are listening and here, Christine has been so honest. And this is actually the path of many entrepreneurs. You don't hear about the failed launches. You don't hear about the behind the scenes of, is this right? Or I've invested a lot of money. Oh my goodness. You only hear, this is how much I made. This is what you can do if you join. So take a step back and really ask yourself, what do I really want to do? And put the magic wand into play. That's right. Guys, Christine and I could talk, no joke, another 2 hours, but I want to make this so that you can listen to this. If you want to find out about Christine and her work, Christine, can you please tell everyone where to find you, even though it will be in the show notes?
Yes, it's redefining and then a healthy.com, redefining-healthy.com, or on regular social media, I'm Christine Egan on Instagram, I'm Christine Egan on Facebook, and I'm out there.
And guys, please take what Christine said. This was such valuable information, especially if you're feeling drained and depleted, or you think that it's just a snap of a finger and every decision aligns up. It's not. Hasn't been for me, hasn't been for Christine, and I guarantee it's not for anybody that you're following on social media. Take a step back and ask yourself the questions that Christine had given you so beautifully in what she said. So, all right, guys, thank you for being here, Christine. So blessed. So blessed.
Thanks.
All right, stay tuned, guys, for the next one, and we will see you later. And don't forget, go and download Christine's amazing information on her site. Check her out. And if you do know somebody who is in need of Christine's work, share the love and find Christine. All right, bye, guys.